In today's video, I'm going to show you a really nice stack of back issues that I picked up during a dollar sale hosted by a local shop. Check it out. Hey everyone, and welcome to my channel. My name's Chris, and this is Northgarden Comics. I said in the beginning that this is a really nice stack of back issues, and it's true. It was such a fun sale to attend. This was a dollar sale hosted by a pretty big chain here in the Twin Cities Metro. The chain of stores is called Hot Comics and Collectibles, and they have locations in Minneapolis, in Richfield, and then down in Jordan. Jordan, you've heard me mention on numerous occasions because they regularly host 25-cent warehouse blowout sales, and I've come home with some really tremendous finds at those sales. But this particular sale was hosted at their Minneapolis location, which is kind of their flagship store, I guess. And they had 30, 40 or so long boxes of comic books out. It was a nice day. It was outside. And they called it their customer appreciation event. And so in addition to having dollar books, they had sales on other back issues and a lot of good activities going on inside the store. And they had brats and, was it brats and hot dogs or just hot dogs? But they had grilled food for free just as part of their customer appreciation. So really had a good time going to that sale, having hot dogs, and diving through these long boxes. And one of the employees I remember observing, he was going through organizing and finding things, and he'd find runs of things that he thought were just really good and thought somebody should have them. And so he would flag them to people that he knew or saw or say, hey, somebody should buy this because this is a really good deal for just $1 a piece. And I came home with some books that would be normal dollar book type of material, but then I also found some fun number ones. I found some variants that I'd been looking for. I found some things I'd never seen in the wild or heard of before, but picked them up because they were cool looking in just a book. And I got a couple minor keys. When I say keys, I generally mean the minor keys. You're not going to score anything super major at these, but I did get some pretty fun keys that you'll see scattered through this haul as well. I will put a link to Hot Comics and their online presence down below so you can check them out if you'd like. But for now, let's go ahead and get to these back issues. All right, I'm actually going to start off with a couple free things that I picked up. They had a box near the exit that was just a bunch of free stuff, most of which was like marketing assets and things like that from earlier promotions that were done by Marvel and or DC. But I do typically pick up the free previews magazines and other, comic book size related material that tell you about events or things that are coming up. And I found a couple things that I didn't have. The first was this book here called AVX Program Guide, obviously back from the Avengers versus X-Men event, and what was that, like 2012? But they had this. You can see it's got a little advertisement there on the back for issue number 1, but just goes through, gives you, characters and a little preview. Here's the scene with Cyclops and Hope and the schedule of the books and some of the covers and things, but it was just a free thing at the time, and I didn't have it, and so I like to pick those up. And then this other one was another freebie. This one was advertising for Avengers, the, was it X Sanction event? I haven't read this event, but you've got Cable on the front there, and I like Cable, so I wanted to grab that. And on the flip side, you've got this preview for a reboot of the Defenders comic, but just another freebie that was fun to get because I didn't have it. So grab that. Now we'll get into kind of your mainstay dollar books. The first couple here, first few actually, are from some very recent ongoings, even current ongoings that I'm kind of working on as I find them in the dollar bins. These first couple are from X-Men Red, and I picked up a copy of issue 9 and issue 10. And then they also had this copy of the X-Men Annual. I will say that I am collecting the X-Men ongoing series new every month, but the annuals, I've gotten to the habit now where I more skip them and then just try to get them later. There is a variant of this that I'd love to get. I forget who's on the cover, but the variant looks pretty cool. But since they had the standard cover for just $1, I wasn't going to leave that behind. This next book is one of those examples I mentioned where I'd never heard of it, never seen it before, but it was just too cool looking to leave behind. That is Marvel Comics X-Babies Reborn one-shot. Just such a great looking cover image with a lot of the fan favorite X-Men characters just as little kids or babies. And I'm just going to pull this out. The artist goes by J.J. Kirby, and he does both the cover and the pencils, but you can see X-Babies Reborn here. But it's just so cool to see so many of these characters done as little kids. I mean, you got teeny tiny Professor X, you got teeny tiny Rogue. Just trying to find some pictures here to maybe show you guys. There's a little Wolverine and Kitty Pryde. They're just so cute. Teeny tiny Nightcrawler. And then Nightcrawler. You got little Rogue. And then I saw there's even... where are the Avengers make an appearance, but they don't call themselves the Avengers. They call themselves the Mighty Vengers. And you've got characters like Captain Amerikid, Wisp, Thunder Sun, Iron Ace, but that's what they look like there. And yeah, just a fun looking little book for just $1. And I mean, you've even got a teeny tiny Psylocke. So that was just a super fun find, and it's an extra size, thick book here. The cover price at the time was $3.50, but that was just too cool to leave behind. So grab that for just $1. And then here's one of those minor keys I mentioned. I primarily collect Marvel, but every once in a while I'll grab a DC book if it's appealing to me, or a limited series, etc. This is Batgirl #1. This is the #1 issue to Cassandra Cain's first ongoing. So not her first appearance, but just a cool #1 with a really cool looking cover there. And they had multiple copies of this just sitting there for $1. Looks like they had been selling it at one point for $6, but happy to score that one. I picked up a few more issues of this volume from the 90s. This is New Warriors Volume 1. Back when Mark Bagley was doing the pencils originally, he penciled the first 25 issues, I want to say. And so I collected the first, I think, 3. It might have been the first 4 that I have. I bought when they came out new, but then I stopped after that. And so I've decided that I would go for the Mark Bagley run, which will take me up through issue 25. And they had several issues at the sale that day. I picked up issue 5, 6, 7, 8, and that was the lowest numbers I picked up. But then I've mentioned before, I love to find the bookends of runs I'm working on. So I grabbed a copy of issue 25. So now I've got issue 1, I've got issue 25. Now I've just got to fill in those gaps in the middle. But that was super fun to get that kind of progress on that run. Here's another minor key. It was a hotter ticket when Avengers Infinity War movie was out. But this is, I want to say it's Avengers Volume 4, I think. I'll fact check myself on that. This is issue 12, where you've got Iron Man wielding the Infinity Gauntlet there on the cover. I had actually found a copy of this for myself within the last year or two. in like a 25-cent or 50-cent bin, and it had some damage on the spine because it was just a raw book with a bunch of other raw books, and you know how they get that rubbing effect that you can get near the staples a lot. So I picked it up for the quarter, 50 cents at the time, but in my mind I've had that as something where I would love an upgrade if I could ever find one, and whoop, there, I got one for just $1. So very happy to have found that. This next issue, another DC issue, I'll show it to you while I'm telling you about it. This is Action Comics number 593. Got this because it's part of the John Byrne run on Superman, and specifically Action Comics in this case. I think he did he either created or his influence was noticed from issues like 584 to 600, I want to say, for Action Comics. And so that's one I've decided I want to go back and piece together. And this is a minor key because it's like a controversial issue, but cool cover as well, and John Byrne art to boot. So happy to find that. And since this sale, but in books that I haven't shown you yet, I have made some other, a little bit of progress here and there, but I'll continue to chip away at this John Byrne run of Action Comics. Had to pick this up. Marvel Age. It was a previews title that I collected when they were coming out back in the 90s, and now I'm just filling in holes to build out that run more and more. And this was a preview, as you can see, 1992 preview, so it went through and highlighted a lot of the hot things coming out in 1992. So got that, and that's a thicker book. That's actually square bound, so that's pretty cool. Here's a book I hadn't seen or heard of before. This is X-Men versus Vampires. I've seen this banner here, this Curse of the Mutants era storyline. I'm not sure even exactly what that refers to, but this X-Men versus Vampires looks like it was a 2-issue limited series, and I had never seen it before, so I grabbed issue 1. If they had 2, I would have gotten that, but they only had issue 1. I've mentioned in previous videos that I am working on a portion of Captain America Volume 3. I first wanted all the issues that Mark Waid wrote, which ended, I want to say, with issue 23, but then 24, up through like the low 30s, I think, one of the Kuberts was doing the pencils on most of those. This has actually got Ron Friends doing pencils on this issue, but I don't like to have holes in runs either, so even though I want the Kubert issues, I'll fill in these other gaps as well, so then I'll have like the first 30-some issues. And I think Tom DeFalco wrote this one, but I think it was Dan Jurgens who eventually took this over from a writing perspective. More DC. I'm actually, in remembering, I'm surprised at how much DC there is in here. Here is a free comic book day comic featuring this first, well, it's not the first, but the kind of a more modern team-up book between Superman and Batman. I think it's the first one that went by the title of Superman Batman and ran for like 86 issues or something. Ed McGuinness was doing the pencils in the beginning of this volume. It is a volume I am slowly working on. Haven't really picked anything up of late, but they had this free comic book day copy of number 1, so I'd like to grab those fun things. And this was a really fun find from that same volume. This is Superman Batman number 13. And I guess it would be the B cover. I don't know if this is considered the A cover or the B cover, but I have one of the covers. Might also be Michael Turner, might be Jim Lee, don't remember offhand. But I have the other cover of this, but I've always loved this image of Supergirl and never knew where it came from. I had seen it on another YouTube channel called Gino's Comics. Shout out to Gino. He's one of the first people on YouTube I was watching when I started watching comic book related content, and he's still got a channel. I'll link to him down below as well. But I haven't seen any of his stuff recently. For a long time, he had this poster in the background of his comic room. So check out his channel and see if he's still got that poster there. But I always loved this image, and then I eventually tracked down where it was from. And when I found out it was this issue 13, I've had that on my wish list and super happy to find that, because this is one of those issues that you'd come across a run of Superman, Batman in the dollar bins, and it'd be all consecutive, and then you'd get to 13 and it would either skip over it, they wouldn't have it at all, or they'd have the alternate cover, because I'm sure that's how I got that alternate cover to begin with, to fill the hole. But now, really happy to have found that book. All right, let's go back to the Bronze Age next. This is a 15-issue volume that I am picking up whenever I can find them, and surprisingly, I find them more often than you might initially think. This is Red Sonja, She-Devil with a Sword, issue number 2, actually, of 15. I think this was her first self-titled series, and I have, well, more than a handful of issues now, but that, I don't think I have number 1. I might. I'd have to double check my CLZ, but there's issue number 2, so a very low number issue to find for just $1. And I know you can't really tell too well on the video, but it's in really nice shape. Not that I'm looking for super high grade. I'll take it as I find it for the most part, as long as it's, you know, intact. But this was originally being sold for $8, and now got it for just $1. Those hot comics folks definitely appreciate their customers when they're discounting books like that. Here is another Bronze Age book, reprinting stories from the Silver Age. Here is Marvel's Greatest Comics, issue number 73. And just I think this has to be one of the earliest Marvel reprint titles that they started doing, because this started still, I think it started in the 60s even. So pretty early reprint series from Marvel, reprinting early Silver Age Fantastic Four stories. So just a fun reprint title that I'm working on as I find them. I know I sound like a broken record, but yet another book that I had never heard of or seen before. I think it's just, yep, it's just a one-shot, but it's this book featuring Valkyrie. I like Valkyrie. I am more familiar with the modern incarnation of Valkyrie when Jane Foster took over that role. That was really where I first started paying attention to the character. Didn't have much history with her otherwise, but now, you know, when I see Valkyrie related books or covers or things like that, it's one I'm liable to pick up. So that was a fun one shot for just $1. And then next, this is the biggest key that I found of the day. And it's not considered a major key, I don't think, but it's one I've been hunting for several years. It is, I'll just show it to you, and then I'll tell you the story about it. This is Alpha Flight, Volume 2, number 17. This is the first comic book appearance of Big Hero 6. Now, I don't have any comic book history with Big Hero 6 at all. As you could probably imagine, I am more familiar with that team name from the Pixar movie, which I watched with my kids years ago when that first came out, and we loved that. And though I think they might share the name and maybe a few other similarities, I don't know how far that crossover goes there. But all that to say, I thought it would be a cool first appearance to have in comics if I could ever find it. And this is another book, even more so than that Superman Batman 13, where you could come across other issues from Alpha Flight Volume 2 all day long in the dollar bins, and you get to this issue 17, and it's, of course, missing because somebody either bought it or the seller was selling it at more than $1 price, which it definitely commands more than $1. This was actually in their bins at one point at $3, so maybe it never made it out to be priced as a more, you know, more of a single issue like that. But even at this sale, I was going through boxes, I came across a run of Alpha Flight Volume 2, and as normal, I got my hopes up, and maybe it'll be in there, and I got, you know, issue 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, boop, skip 17, it goes right to 18. So I thought, that's typical, right? They don't have it, not really surprised by that. But then fast forward to the very end of my hunting through the boxes, and I came across a completely different run of Alpha Flight Volume 2 at the other end of their boxes, and went through the same thing, but this time, issue 17 was there. So this was my highlight of the day for sure, that I came across this for just $1. But yeah, that's a super fun find for just $1, and it's in really nice shape. They didn't put it in there on purpose because it was all trashed or anything. It was just in their inventory, and they were looking to move this stuff for $1. And they knew that they'd be selling books that could be valued at more than $1 for just $1, but the purpose was customer appreciation. Put those books out there, give them a good deal, and if you're willing to dig through the boxes, you can find some cool stuff. And so that was definitely my coolest find of the day. But we're not done yet. We've got a few more things to show you. The last several books actually come all from the same title. This is a title I've just recently starting to put together. At one point in the past, I picked up a copy of issue number 1 just because I'm a sucker for a number 1, especially if it's a character or a team that I'm fond of to begin with. And then I kind of wait and see, do I want to collect that run or not? And I think it was just maybe my last video I mentioned committing to, you know, putting together this volume, partly for the characters, partly for the creative team. But this is X-Force. Actually, we might have 2 different things going on here. I might have, all right, 2 volumes. Sorry, very related though. It all kind of connects together. This first issue, standalone, this is X-Force number 7. I'll put down below which volume of X-Force this is. I don't remember off the top of my head. I'm not actively working on this one, but I grabbed that because I just thought that was a great cover with Domino. Love the character of Domino, and what really caught my eye were just the rainbow effect around the pistols that she's firing. Just really cool cover by. But that being said, it's probably a title or a volume I'll ultimately try to get because there are other volumes of X-Force that I am actively working on. So there's that one. Now the others are from a related title. So that story of just recently starting to put together the whole thing. It's Cable and X-Force because I generally like X-Force. I really love Cable as a character, and the creative team on this, especially on the pencil, Salvador LaRocca is doing pencils at the early part of this run. So I picked up issue 2, 4. I think I must have 3, or they didn't have it there that day, or I would have gotten it. 5, 6, 7, cool Cyclops cover. And then lastly, not least, whoops, there's issue 11. So a little bit of progress on that Cable and X-Force. That is one-off cover by from the X-Force volume, but always a fan of picking up mutant-related titles, one-shots, books, and things like that as well. But all in all, just a great sale that I'm glad to be able to share with you. All right, that's going to do it for me, and that's going to wrap up this, in my opinion, great back issue haul from the Hot Comics and Collectibles $1 customer appreciation sale. I know I definitely feel appreciated, so thanks to you, Hot Comics, for having this sale. Thanks again for the free hot dogs. That was a tremendous time. I look forward to next year's sale as well. Just a great time talking to people and filling in holes in my wish list and finding comics that I wasn't even looking for, but couldn't resist taking them home at just $1 a piece. But how about you? How are things going for you on your own comic adventures? Are you getting to go to any dollar sales or other kinds of cool sales where you're filling in holes or making discoveries of books that you didn't know existed? Let us know down below. Now, if you're not quite ready for the YouTube fun to stop, I have hand-selected a couple videos here for you to check out. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.